Hello and welcome to an episode of Forza Horizon 4. In this episode, I'm going to be driving around in some BMW M5s. Currently, I'm in the E60 BMW M5, which is my favorite BMW M5. So, there's a possibility I'll be a tiny bit biased, but besides that, this car is actually quite good except for the Bengal butt, which if you don't know, the designer of this car is actually called, his last name was Bengal, and he didn't really make the rear end of this car so good, so that's why they called it the Bengal butt. But anyway, in the front, I feel like this car looks pretty nice, actually. Let's go into the interior. The BMWs that we're going to be driving is the E60 BMW M5, which is this one right here. Then we're also going to be driving the F10 BMW and the F90. Before I start off, all of these vehicles will have a tire size that's just one size wider than what they have in factory, and all of these cars are going to be running on race tires. Here's the oldest one that we're going to be. Let's see how it handles some of the corners. Here's my favorite part about this car: the noise. It revs to 8,000 RPM. However, also all of these cars have had camshaft put on them, which means that they can rev a little bit higher than factory. So just take a moment to hear this. That is the sound of a naturally aspirated V10 engine, which sounds pretty much amazing. And one more thing, well, two more things actually. All of these cars have the biggest wheel that you can put on them, which in real life would be stupid, but in the game it gives you just a little bit of aesthetics. This car is handling very, very good. Partially because of those race tires, and really, I mean, it's not like I have ginormous tires on this, but it is handling the corners amazingly. Let's see if we can get its ass out here. Yes, that is very easy, actually. That noise from the V10 engine is so good. It's a 5-liter V10 making around 500 horsepower. Both my modifications, it's making about 550 horsepower. Let's take it around on some curvy roads, so let's go up this road here. I know this is relatively curvy. And this has the notorious for braking SIMG transmission, which is a pretty nice transmission. It is, if you did not know, is a manual transmission. It's actually controlled automatically, so it's not exactly like a dual clutch. It's sort of like a dual clutch in the way that it is direct drive. However, like a dual clutch, has a clutch like a normal manual transmission. Essentially what that means is that if you drive like really hard and you set it in the maximum firmness mode for the transmission feels like it's going to literally fall out of the car. Also, you run through a clutch in about 10,000 miles. However, what I can say right now is that it does shift really quickly. So let's get into some high revs here. You can see it does shift pretty quick. And this is a pretty jerky transmission just because it is a manual that's controlled automatically.
You have arrived at your destination.
So in general, it's a pretty good car. It sounds amazing, but it could be improved on. You cannot get over that noise. It sounds amazing. And you can see here it has pretty sharp reactions, even though it is a ginormous large sedan. This car has 20-inch wheels that I've put on it, and then the other two BMWs actually have 21-inch wheels. So, made a little bit of a difference there. But I feel like this is sort of like one of the last BMWs before they got fat. Even though that the previous M5, forget what the enthusiast name for the car is, but I feel like this is one of the last ones before they got so technically dumb. Well, I mean, then again, this is actually probably the first one that got very technically dumb, in the way that there's like 15 billion parts that go bad, and you gotta do like $10,000 in preventative maintenance so the engine doesn't kill itself, basically. And that's kind of like how all these last let's try to actually talk there. Naturally aspirated engines work. AMG cars of the time, they had issues with head bolts, but they were much more reliable than these things like this. Oh, hello, dude in a Corvette. Bye. But I bet he has modified his car to have Yep, stupid amounts of power. But we're gonna go to another BMW, which is actually a little bit faster than this car, but probably my least favorite when it comes to looks and generally everything. Here's the one we're gonna do. This is 2012 BMW M5, 602 horsepower, because I've put an exhaust and done some camshafts on it, so it has a bit more power. This BMW here weighs about like 4,000 something pounds, whereas the BMW I was driving just a minute ago, it weighs more like 3,900 pounds. Now this is a bit different. This is a bit different. Okay, this is a bit different in the way that it has a turbo V8, which let's just go through the speed zone real quick here. One of the difference, instead of having that SMG transmission, this has a dual clutch transmission. But because this was like the first one of the turbocharged generation, the issue that they had with it was major oil consumption. And you can see here that this transmission, I'll get onto a long stretch here, and I will go through the tunnel, and I'll let you listen to that. But you'll see as I go through the tunnel just how fast this dual clutch is able to shift. By far, this is not my favorite BMW. It's probably one of my lesser favorite ones, mainly because it was kind of in a, I don't really know what to call the era, but it was very nice. So I'm going to shut up and you can listen to this. And if I'm being honest, because it has those turbos, the exhaust note is kind of muted. You'd expect it to get louder, better, and I don't want to be near this dude, because, yeah. Anyway, let's go into the other tunnel. Let's just see. Let's go to the tunnel again. This time I'm going to talk a bit. Really, the exhaust note is kind of muted. Once again, not my favorite BMW. But because this does have the 20-inch wheels, which I'll let you look at right here. 21-inch wheels, actually. So let's take it on to some curvy roads and see how it does. Okay, so we're about to get on a curvy road here. However, let's just see how it takes off the line here. Pretty good. This thing normally would rev to about like 7,500 RPM, but I've modified it, so it revs up to 8,000 RPM, which is nice. Well, almost 8,000. So if I was going to buy a BMW, I would either buy the newest BMW or the old BMW. Probably the older one, because it's hit its bottom level depreciation, even though you'd have to spend like half the price for the car fixing it up. Oh, and look what we have here, a drift zone. This is not going to work, because I cannot drift in this game. As stated, I cannot drift in this game.
You have arrived at your destination.
Jesus. Yeah, okay, that's going to be a fail there. Whatever. I can't drift. It's something weird about the physics in this game. This car here, obviously, it is, when it comes to cornering and that sort of thing, it is a bit better than the older one. However, the older one is just more driver focused than this one is. So with that, let's go to the newer BMW. This one here, this car weighs 4,300 pounds, so it has gotten quite fat. Even though it has gotten quite fat, it is actually still better around corners than the previous generation. This is the F90 BMW M5, and I mean, it does have a new transmission. So what they did is they went from SMG transmission, automatically controlled manual, to dual clutch, to now a normal torque converted automatic. So that you'd think that would mean that it would shift quite slow. However, let me get on a straight bit of road here. It shifts quite fast, actually. Now, I feel like it could be a little bit improved, but considering this is a torque converted automatic, yeah, that's pretty good.
You have arrived at your destination.
Let's go right. And let's see what we can get up to here. I'm gonna say maybe 150 to like 180, something like that, on this road here. Who knows with my driving? Knowing me, I'll get to like 150 and then hit a tree. Let's see what this car can do. Okay, there's 160. Now let me talk a little bit about this car. I have 660 horsepower because I've put those small modifications on the engine. And really the days of high revving naturally aspirated motors are completely dead. Because you gotta have good emissions and blah 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 stuff. Now when it comes to the exhaust note, this is not very nice compared to the V10 M5. I'll let you take a little listen to that. There's a lot of induction noise, but you kind of got to, considering that the exhaust in this car does not sound particularly fruity like the V10. V10 just sounds better because it's a V10 and it revs to 9,000 RPM. And another major difference is that this thing has all-wheel drive. I'm sure all-wheel drive, 661 horsepower because I have some modifications. Let's see what it can do. Snappy off the line, right like that. So I think that really sums up this video. This BMW is really good, and hopefully it will be somewhat reliable, unlike the E60. And hopefully you like this episode, and goodbye.